25% of voice network engineers are expected to retire in the next 5 years.
9 out of 10 organizations reports encountering the IT skills gap or expect it to hit them in the next 3 years.
So you are in a situation where there's no new inflow of talent, and the network has become more important than it's ever been because everything in the world is packets.
Welcome to the stage, Fran Tello.
Hey everyone, I'm Fran. So who here remembers the first time they interacted with a network? Show of hands. So what was it for you? What network was it? Oh, wow. Sounds really cool. So for my baby daughters, their first interaction with a network was likely when their grandmothers would FaceTime them, and they would basically have their minds blown off because someone who wasn't in a room with them magically showed up. And that part of it, magic, I think that's a lot of what we do with networking every day. The only problem with magic, though, is that as it enters our lives, it becomes normal. And then my 1-year-old daughters now take networks for granted, even though it's pretty much magic. For me, the first time interacting with networks was probably when I got my first computer. I hooked it up to the dial-up modem. Who remembers the funky sounds? Didun, didun. And then my mom would pick up the phone while I was in the middle of an Age of Empires match, and I would lose. But I wanted to understand how all of it actually worked, and that pushed me into a career in electronics and telecommunications engineering. When it was time to graduate, I basically had 3 options. One of them was doing a thesis, boring. The other option was doing an internship. It's a little bit more my speed. And then the last option was to get CCNA certified. And I'm really glad that I took that choice because that's how I actually started understanding how everything worked in networking. That's how I ended up falling in love with the field. And here I am 15 years later in front of you, and I get to talk to you guys about networks. I've been helping customers build enterprise networks ever since, and that's what I do today at Meter. So thanks for coming. Now, who here knows what the Fermi Paradox is? Fermi Paradox? Anyone like aliens? So the Fermi Paradox basically says that in a universe this big with trillions of stars and galaxies, there should be intelligent life all around us. And yet we look, and it's just us. It doesn't make any statistical sense. We should not be alone in the universe, but outside of some blinky lights in New Jersey skies, probably earlier this year or last year, there's very little evidence that there's anyone else out there. And I've been thinking about that because I think it reflects a little bit of what's happening in the field of networking. Not because you guys are not smart, you guys are clearly very smart, you're here. But because networks have never been more important than they are today, and yet, where are all the network engineers? Show of hands, who is a network engineer here? Okay, there's quite a few. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the decline in new talent entering the field, the growing demands on network infrastructure, and also what Meter is trying to do about it and what you guys can do about it as well. So let's start with this graph. This illustrates what's happening today. Every couple of years, network demand roughly doubles, mainly because of pressure from streaming services and from AI workloads. So, it's mostly people watching K-pop Demon Hunters for the 5th time in a row on Netflix, like my wife, actually was there 3 of those times, so I'm part of the problem. And then there's also people saying, thank you, ChatGPT. Don't do that. Don't let the machines think they're people. Not yet. On the other hand, new network engineers entering the field, that number is shrinking. And that's crazy because everything around us is networks, everything is packets, and yet the people who are meant to design, to implement, and to run those networks are some of the last to enter the field. Networking is not a commodity, it's an art form. But as all of you probably know, the network never comes into the forefront unless it's either down or not performing. Nobody's sending you guys flowers for the days, the months, the years of uptime. There's only yelling for the seconds, the minutes, the hours of downtime. And when it comes to downtime in networks, every network engineer knows what's the root cause all the time. Any ideas? It's always DNS, right? Sometimes it's BGP, but it's mostly DNS. This is one of the scariest screens in the world of networking. Little dinosaur waiting for the asteroid to make him go extinct in the form of his boss yelling, "Why is the network down?" Maybe some of you remember October 2021, huge outage in Facebook's autonomous system. Misconfiguration of BGP caused them to withdraw the prefixes that pointed to their DNS servers, which meant that nobody on the internet could reach WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Nobody could complain. When they realized it wasn't a fluke, they started using Twitter or Signal, again, to complain, probably, creating a lot of traffic spikes throughout the internet. But a network engineer solved that problem. And then just last month, AWS US East goes down. Why was it? Any ideas? Guys, we just said, it's always DNS. Empty DNS record that should have been pointing to DynamoDB caused a cascade of failures that ripple across the world, not just US East. But then a network engineer solved that issue as well. So if there's any 2 takeaways that you guys take from the talk, 1, it's always DNS, except when it's BGP, but mostly DNS. But 2, network engineering is a continuous act of unseen heroism. That's right. The ones who raise their hands, you guys are all heroes. Now the reality, 1 in 4 of us is set to retire in the next 5 years. And there's very few people coming in behind us to replace those engineers. I remember 9 years ago, I was pursuing my master's degree in electrical engineering at NYU. And I chose the computer network specialization. That wasn't an easy choice for me. Everybody was saying, networking, you're crazy. Go to AI, go to cybersecurity. Maybe I should have gone into AI. Maybe I would be like Nitan today. But I prevailed. I stuck to networking. I really loved it. I had been doing it for 6 years at that point. And I also understood that the other fields, while important, they're nothing without networking. Most of my peers didn't go that route. Meanwhile, global data center capacity exploding, expected to triple by 2030. So in 2030, 1 in 4 of us is gone, and the remaining 3, they have to deal with 3 times the workload. The average network that you guys are supporting today has 4 times as many devices as it did 10 years ago. So we're scaling compute, we're scaling networks, we're not scaling people. And all that is reinforcing that Fermi Paradox that we were talking just a second ago about, because we have a universe of billions of connected devices, people, applications, and there should be so many more network engineers to support that, but there's very few of them in sight. So how does this play out? Demand grows exponentially, workforce growth is flat or shrinking. Without skilled network engineers, we lose the kind of people who can diagnose those issues, even if it's mostly DNS. We continue using brittle, outdated systems that were never meant to scale to how we are pushing them today. And then we also introduce cybersecurity risk because of network misconfigurations, precisely the kind of things that network engineers are trained to find and fix. If networks fail, everything else fails. Network is down, you cannot say thank you, ChatGPT. But seriously, a network fails, the airport fails, hospital systems fail, public safety systems fail. And we cannot let the infrastructure that powers the modern world become an afterthought. So what is Meter doing about all this? We cannot manufacture thousands of new network engineers out of the blue. But what we can do is that we can build the types of systems that augment those network engineers. The types of systems that empower them to do more with less. I think that in this climate, the successful companies are the ones that invest in those types of systems, not the ones that cut those. Have you actually thought why it's always DNS? It's because names and words are very easy to remember and grasp, but things like IP addresses just aren't. And you saw in the demo earlier, command lets you use words, natural language. It doesn't make your skill set obsolete. It just makes you faster because you know how to fix the issue. You know what you're looking for. Command is just getting you there in a much more efficient way. And now command is going to help you do even more. It's going to take in the discussions that you have with our team, and it's going to pre-design a network for you, reducing a lot of the time that you invest in bringing up networks. Command is also going to look at support tickets coming in. And it's going to see what is the best course of action for you to tackle that issue. Again, it's not about taking people out of the loop. It's about giving every one of you a network that is able to keep up. And with Meter's model, it's not all about automation. With Meter, you get a network that adapts to your changing needs. So if you need to add 100 new sites, you know exactly how much that is going to cost you. You don't have to put together a spreadsheet with the prices from 3 years ago and be surprised that you got a 25% hike in price. You need to add more bandwidth. We give you a bigger firewall. No questions asked. And if you need to add more devices to an existing site, we give you the necessary switchboards and the necessary access points for you to build that network. Need to provision an ISP? Connect is there for you, as you're going to see with chat. And at that point, you don't have to go and scramble for budget because Meter has your back. That's what we're trying to deliver on. A network that is not just smart, because a lot of people are working on smart networks today. Instead, a network that is on your side. A network that can do. So we'll continue working on our mission. We're going to build fast, reliable, and secure networks that all of you are proud to run and that your businesses can trust. But I think the most important part is that we want to build those networks with you. From network engineers, for network engineers. Everything that you guys tell us shapes what we build. So come find us, tell us what works, tell us what isn't, and let's build the networks of the future together. Thank you.